Give thanks and praise. Dissidents, welcome back, welcome back. I wanted to try a little samba on the pandero for everybody to convey how much it emulates the sound of a train. My samba is where I have the most room for growth in my capoeira repertoire. And the samba is the more challenging rhythm as it has a tendency to accelerate. It loves to pick up the throttle. And on my last video, I was discussing how the Rix is encoded into this particular chariot card. And the Rix is played with completely different ergonomics. You're actually down at the bottom holding it just like this chariot card is holding the Crator constellation or the cup, the Holy Grail. And I mentioned in my last video that, the Orphites had an oath where they claimed to have drinking from the timpania. And I just love that there are so many different forms of this wonderful instrument. But the train of frenzies are a well-known literary dynamic. And so the sound of the train being entrained into the playing of tambourines or timpanias or the Rix. I just wanted to accentuate that because I feel like I missed the musical element in my last video when I was talking about the Rix and the timpania and the pandero. So yeah, the most well-known, the most world-traveled of all the rhythms of this instrument is a rhythm that sounds just like the train, which puts it in direct correspondence to manifest destiny. It's so, so wonderful. So I wanted to convey the sound of the samba. And there is a researcher many years ago who went out into the woods and connected sound capturing devices on many of the trees in an area and recorded the acoustics of the trees themselves at large as one, you could think of it as one large orchestra. And when he played them back, it kind of at a time lapse, he had to speed up the time. The trees were playing the song of the Amazons, the song of the Amazons. And it sounded very much like in that there were cracks, snaps, pops, creaks, a whole orchestra of noise that when you put it together in its aggregate, it sounded to me very much like the rhythm of the samba. And so it fascinates me how we make associations to man-made constructs when we say a train of frenzies, but we find out that in fact Mother Nature was already singing that song. And maybe we are merely emulating Mother Nature and claiming it for a discovery. Turns out the Latin translation of the word discovery kind of reveals that it's more based on the word invention. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. But, maybe Christopher Columbus didn't discover anything. Maybe he invented everything. So, wanted to bring forward the samba, and I want to wish everybody a happy 6th day of the Navaratri. Today is the observance of Katyayani. Today is Katyayani's day, as we are on day number 6 of the Navaratri. Katyayani's day is generally spent in observance of matrimonial rites. A lot of the ladies in the ceremony will actively pray for beneficial marriage in their life. And so I find that quite revealing, as we have the Lover's card is depicting a holy matrimony taking place. Today, Katyayani Day, day number 6. Today is the day that the Atlas comet, also known as Chuchinchan, is making its pass around the sun. Today is the day that the sword of the Jabberwocky is snicker snacking at the Draco meteor shower. And I'm gonna play that one more time for folks. I'm gonna flip around my stellarium so we can see those dynamics. It really fascinates me sometimes when I make these correspondences, and it's not till days after the thought that it resubstantiates with more and more fortification. But the claim that the sun is taking the vorporeal sword to snicker snack the Jabberwocky, that claim is beautiful and poetic and imaginative and creative, but it has deep, deep truth in it. In that we are entering into Libra right now, going into the fall, and generally the element of the fall is the element of the wind. And the sword is the prime symbol of the wind. So the adjustment card is definitely invoked every year for going back as long as we've had these symbols. And in my read, the sword of this adjustment card is the sword of Michael. And angelically, in the Enneagram, Michael has dominion over the 7, the 8, and the 3, the most aggressive of the personality types. And Gabriel is holding the 1, 2s, and the 6s, and he's essentially up here in this Magi card. And Uriel and Raphael are holding the 5, 4, and the 9 in the Hornavian groups. And again, Hornavian groups is anagram for thrones, Ophanum. Thrones, Ophanum. The word Ophanum means thrones. So Michael is also not just corresponded to the sword. He slays Lucifer and shows him the scales of justice in the heavens. This sword of Michael has been highly significant throughout all of mythology and time, but to find that during Libra right now, the sun is grabbing up a sword and swinging it directly at the Draconid meteor showers that are spurting off for the next 3 or 4 days. It's a very brief meteor shower, but it's literally coming out of the head of the dragon. So I wanted to share that dynamic one more time because it is just so dramatic. It's so dramatic. But what's really neat is that these elements of the story kind of take on almost a prophetic value. So let's see. Here you can see the Atlas comet. Here is the sun at the elbow of the Virgin. I have to say, it is Polyhymnia is the muse with the very sharp elbows, as she knows how to move a crowd. So this is as of the 4th, and the Draconid meteor showers have not gone off yet. you can see Venus is moving into Libra, square into Libra. And the moon is somewhere else. I think it's progressed on, or maybe, no, the moon is right here. The moon is at her shins. So I'm going to progress from the 4th to the 5th. Venus and the moon catches up with Venus, I should say. You can see the Atlas comet is getting closer. I believe this is, that's not Spica, that's Mercury. Mercury and the Sun are moving off of the elbow towards the Spica as Atlas gets closer. And watch how Atlas swings just like a sword. I'm going to go forward to the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th. Here we are. This is today, 10-8. Now, I want to say also that the adjustment card was changed from the 11, or from the card number 11 to card number 8. I find that fascinating. And here, tomorrow, the sword is swinging, and look at the draconid meteor showers have been going off all this time. And on 10-10, the draconid meteor showers disappear. I'm going to rewind 4 days, 5 days to the 4th, and look at the swing on this comet. Look how, here's draconid going off, going off, going off. The sword swings, and draconid meteor showers turn off. Really something fascinating. Something fascinating. And we know that the powers that presume to be would never miss the opportunity to make their mark in the patterns. So I'm going to share some fascinating revelations around Kamala Harris and her campaign art. Now, I need everybody to remember that I'm not giving undue credit onto a single person. I'm not talking about Kamala herself as a single one actress. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the public relations team behind her that is actually a think tank that has deep ties to the Actors Guild. So I just want to make sure that I'm not giving credit to this one person. Our words so often just miss the mark ever so slightly. So I want to be as specific as I can and not give the credit to a single individual. When I mention Kamala Harris, I am talking about an entire think tank of the highest order. Clearly. So, Kamala Harris has a campaign logo that is basically Van Gogh's Starry Night with a black cat sitting on a rooftop watching the stars swirl about in the heavens, and her new nickname for her acolytes, they want to call her La, L-A. Very interesting. Do, re, mi, fa, so, la. Ti, do. They're landing on La. This is her new name. And the artistry and the shape of her name, La, is distinctly embedded into a swirling cloud that looks very much like the number 9. I believe one of her fraternal orders is the Divine 9. She wants to give a shout out to my sisters in the Divine 9. What's up? She's throwing gang signs up on the podium to her Divine 9. The shape of the swirl on her logo is the shape of Hurricane Helena. And I've been saying for months now that this is not an alien invasion, this is a Hellenic invasion. And so the logo of La is in the exact shape of Helena, exactly in that shape. And even when it moved off of its initial target, the initial target of Helena was Carbondale, Illinois, where Buckminster Fuller was born. That is X marks the spot on the Great American Eclipse. The two pathways of the Great American Eclipse was landing straight smack dab in the middle of Buckminster Fuller's hometown. And that was during the last Great Solar Eclipse. Then Hurricane Helena actually migrated slowly eastward. However, it maintained that shape. It maintained the shape of the gigantic number 9, that symbol that La is presuming to harness. So I thought, that's very interesting. I've been talking about a Hellenic invasion, and here comes Hurricane Helena. And then just a few days later, it popped off with Hurricane Milton. Hurricane Milton. A lot of people are talking about it. It's not even occulted anymore. I think we're all pretty much initiated. But Milton's Paradise Lost is one of the first nods to pandemonium. I talked about this in my most recent videos. Pandemonium comes from Dante's Inferno. It is the house of all demons. I have been very blessed in my research on the pandemonium and the house of all demons. I've been very blessed to find eudaimonia, the house of the good spirits. And that is the energy that I care to propagate. And the house of the good spirits are the remedial virtues of the 9 personality stations. And maybe I'll flash those up. And then I'll just fire them off, just for practice sake. Wisdom is the number 1. The remedial virtue for wrath is wisdom. And I want to point out, with these remedial virtues, always keep in mind the trines. The 8, 9, and 1 is in the acting group. The 2, 3, 4 is in the feeling. The 5, 6, 7 is in the thinking. Wisdom, many people will tell you, is action oriented. It's not just knowing a thing. There's a component of action to wisdom. One of my favorite jokes is that wisdom is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. No, excuse me. Oh, I messed the joke up. Knowledge is knowing that tomato is not a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in your fruit salad. And so here we're in the doing. We're in the action. We're in the execution position with the number 1. So number 1's remedial virtue is wisdom. And it is in the acting group. Therefore, it is not the same as thinking or feeling. It is actually doing. Number 2 remedial virtue, I've been talking about this a little bit. Magnanimity is such a highfalutin word. So I went and I looked up a bunch of synonyms, and I want to convey those forward today because I think that a great amount of magnanimity is going to be required to bring our sense of pride into a healthy context. And so some of the synonyms for magnanimity: forbearance. I really like forbearance. That's a great word. Grace, favor, mercy, and charity. Forbearance, grace, mercy, charity. Yeah, those are the remedial virtues of personality type who is very prideful. The achiever, number 3, personality type, has that shadow of deceit, and the remedial virtue is very simply honesty or candor. Number 4, personality type, the individual with the shadow of envy, has the remedial virtue of kindness. Number 5, observer or a creative with the shadow of greed or avarice, has the remedial virtue of temperance. Number 6, loyalist with a shadow of fear, or we are renovating fear and we're going to put doubt in that location. And the remedial virtue is valor, courage, bravery. for the number 6, and that's what we're on today. That is we're on the 6th day of the Navaratri. And so loyalty, doubt, valor, bravery, courage, those are the kind of the elements on the table in ceremonially speaking today in a major way. Number 7 is the enthusiast with the shadow of glutton, remedial virtue of abstinence, that is to say none at all, to completely abstain utterly. There's kind of a totalitarian spirit to this number 7 in that. Number 8 is a controller with the shadow of domineering or lust, of remedial virtue of sympathy. And the number 9 is the slothful, indolent one, balanced peacekeeper personality type with that remedial virtue of diligence, stick-to-itiveness. Some would say solitude. That's Nietzsche's take on it. I'm sure that's required as well to a large degree. All right. Remedial virtues are the eudaimonia, the house of the good spirits. So if the powers that presume to be but never really were, if they're going to launch Milton on us, then I think our response is eudaimonic. We are driven to summon forth the good spirits. If you want to fight pandemonium, you're going to need all the remedial virtues that Slick just listed off, and you're going to need them an infinite supply. So there will be no Malthusian presumption of lack in eudaimonia. All right. Also, want to talk about Florida a little bit. Big ups to Old World Florida and our buddy Dr. Narco Longo. Big love and respect, buddy. And I just keep hearing him talk about Florida is Pisces. I can see where his personality type would love to think that. And it's justified in so many ways. He's perfectly correct in 100,000 ways. But I'm here to tell y'all, Florida is Scorpio. Florida is Scorpio. It is so utterly Scorpio. And all of what Dr. Narcolongo is projecting onto his home state that he loves so well, it's all good, brother. It's all good. I feel you. I'm sure if I lived there and loved it that much, I would say the same things you are. Pisces is Hawaii. Pisces is Hawaii. Southern California and Hawaii are Pisces. Florida is the death card, y'all. And the hanged man card. Because of the Bermuda Triangle. If you look up the Lucius Trust Foundation logo, you will see that the triangle that they harness for their logo is exactly maps onto the Bermuda Triangle. So the Bermuda Triangle gets the hangman element, and Florida proper gets the death card element, because that's where folks be going to retire, to spend their last days on Earth in Florida. And so one thing that is very harmonious about Florida being a water element is that Scorpio likewise is a water element. Scorpio, Cancer, and Pisces are the 3 water elements. And so it's a totally forgivable mistake. And I don't really know how to make a claim that somebody's right or wrong. Maybe we could just say that one level of accuracy is of higher value than the other. But essentially, one of these days, I'll get on Dr. Narco Longo's channel and I'll set him straight on the territories map and how it works objectively. But Florida is totally down in Scorpio. And so I see Milton, the Hurricane Milton, cutting across Florida is a total castration spell. It's a total castration spell. Florida is the flaccid phallus of the grand homunculus. So wanted to share those correspondences because I definitely, armchair quarterbacking when I hear Dr. Narcolongo telling everybody it's all about Pisces in Florida. And I'm just like, oh, yeah. Maybe in the psychic domain that might be true, but in the material, actual map of the realm, Florida is totally Scorpio, which we are moving into over the next month. Also, today it is I believe, what planet is it? Oh no, today the moon is on Ophiuchus's knee. Let me go back a few. Yep, today the moon is exactly on Ophiuchus's knee. And you'll notice there's a lot of knee imagery here. We got the knee here, and we got the bent out knee here. He's got a jacked out knee over here. A lot of people are thinking about Capricorn when they think about the knees, and that's all good. But if you look at Ophiuchus, his knee is occupying exactly 5 degrees of the elliptic plane. It's November 22nd to November 27th. It's JFK Day all the way through Thanksgiving. And so football players take a knee. Thanksgiving is the holiday of the football game when they cut the pig skin, so to say, or the turkey, as it were, as they've also learned how to throw that ball quite well. So the moon is on the knee of Ophiuchus today, and the knee of Ophiuchus is the location of the JFK event. As this comet Chuchinchan is swinging the sword of Michael at the Jabberwocky of Draco. It is really remarkable times that we are living in. And the potency of the ceremonial potentia is just something to respect. It's something to respect. Now, I have a few other topics that I want to just kind of weave in here. My buddy PK and I have been doing quite a few shows and analysis on the meteor showers. And if anybody missed those, they're in the live tab on my channel. I'm looking at the meteor showers, the media showers. And I want to just tell a few fascinating correspondences to my friends and my family out there. I want to talk about how I believe it was Euripides, I might be wrong, but in the Greek plays, the tragedians, with the muse of Melpomene, she's the muse of tragedy with the frowny sad face, it was Euripides, I believe, who would, for one, he would depend on the chorus to over-elaborate the hidden intentions of the actors, and he was over-dependent on the chorus, and the chorus was generally side characters who would wear the masks of comedy or tragedy, the drama masks, and they would kind of free float through the scene, almost like stagehands. If you could imagine how in comic books today, we'll have a voice ribbon coming out of a character when they're saying a phrase. Sometimes we'll have a thought bubble where they're thinking a phrase, so we know that other people aren't hearing that information. Other times we have the voice bubble where we know people are hearing that information. The ribbon, the bubbles, those are artistic depictions of what the chorus exemplified in tragedy and comedy in the theaters. I believe that when the media went in bed with the military in Iraq, it was much like when Euripides extracted the chorus from the stage, from being free-floating agents of thought and intentionality, kind of autonomous in their own way. Euripides took them off the stage and he put the chorus in the audience, such that the thought bubbles and the voice ribbons of the actors were now embedded with the observers, with the witnesses of the production. I believe that is what happened when the media showers went in bed with the military in Iraq. And uh, a great amount of night vision imagery. Remember, we had all the green. It was all green colored because they were using night vision to capture these displays of destruction and chaos, the shock and the awe of it. So that green color is almost the theme of the nature of that infusion of the chorus into the audience or the media into the military vehicles. Now, I just want to keep that green dark color in mind. And maybe folks could research negative green. There's a great rabbit trail around the color negative green. And we also know that a great amount of trepidation over whether it's real or fake is fundamentally rooted in the word green screen. And so the green screen is kind of like uh, the shadow of doubt. It's the shadow of doubt that maybe this isn't real. Maybe we can't believe our own eyes. Also, I think maybe I'll bring in a graphic. Maybe I'll throw one together. Everybody should look at the back of your birth certification. It's a living document. A collection of tissues with a common purpose is the definition of an organ. A collection of organs with a common purpose is the definition of a system. Well, your birth certificate is a collection of tissues organized with a common purpose, and it's considered a living document. And what is fascinating is that the type on the back of everybody's birth certificate is written vertically. The words, the letters, all caps, are raining down from above. This is how hieroglyphics are depicted. Hieroglyphics means love for what is written. Love for what is written. Erographia. Erographia is a love for what is written. And we suffer from this to such a profound degree. If you look up hydrophilia, it is sexualizing sacred implements. So, but hieroglyphics is making sacred what is written. Maybe I should say it that way. Hieroglyphics is sacredizing that which is written. Hierophilia is sexualizing or eroticizing what is sacred. And so, these powerful technologies are all kind of buzzing on this number 6 in a great way because the sixth muse is Erato, the muse of eroticism. And we're on her day right now, as it is the day of Katyayani right now. So, also, think of the hieroglyphics on the back of your birth certificate and think of the green code that was raining down in the Matrix film. And how cipher, the letter, the symbol 0, was originally named cipher when Shakespeare picked it up and proliferated the 0. Its name was originally cipher, and there's no zeros in the code. No zeros can be allowed in the code. The USS Yorktown had a 0 accidentally left in its computer code, and it shut down the whole vessel. And one mistake in the computer code of the SS Yorktown made it dead in the water, and they had to get the towboats to bring it to shore. That is the Gnostic seed of Y2K. That event caused everybody to believe that Y2K was real. Pretty far out how Y2K encodes 9/11. Also, I'm going to correspond the falling green graphics of the code from the Matrix, which is so very, it's an echo of the night vision goggles and the night vision cameras, the media being embedded in with the military was an echo of. And I just want to also correspond the hieroglyphics of your birth certificate to the falling rain of coded numbers from the matrix, and the actual patterns of the meteor showers. The meteor showers are also raining down. They distinctly have an elongating pattern as they come from above down below. So the meteor showers and the meteor showers are harnessing natural elements in concordance to their will. And I want us to be prepared and affluent and able to recognize these fascinating manipulations of the weather or not. You're going to empower these controllers who presume to be but never were. This is a really fascinating topic that comes up whenever the claim of weather manipulation is thrown on the table. There's something of a tar baby to this topic, and that is to say that if the only thing that insurance cannot cover is an act of God, and we're in general coherency theorist culture, we're screaming and yelling, this is not an act of God. This is not an act of God. And so the folks who love that word God, they get offended because this claim is stating that man has infiltrated into the dominion of God, and that it's officially on the books that hurricanes are acts of God. And the coherency theorists are screaming, fellas, wake up. This is not an act of God. These are acts of men. These are the mad scientists at large. And so I think the way to keep from chasing our tail in the conversation is to refuse to call it a natural disaster. That's where they catch us. That's where we get thrown off. We call it a natural disaster. I think that's incorrect, and I think a lot of people would agree. There's nothing natural about this disaster. The problem is you can't attribute liability of something so monumentally destructive. Nobody wants to be attributed with the liability that they could have steered it away, they could have made it less, and they also likewise could have made it worse. So that liability is the hot potato that gets passed around, and it's fascinating that it touches on theology. It touches directly on theology. This is where the rubber meets the road. So, also, I want to mention just a quick reminder. The Lisbon disaster happened on All Saints' Day. The Lisbon disaster happened on November 1st, on Halloween, whatever you want to call it, Samhain. So there was a deluge of nihilism after the Lisbon disaster. And I think as we go forward through these upcoming seasons and the inevitable fallout of somebody's going to be butthurt, I just want us to keep our eyes on these nihilists that will be born and sent into a mania, a frenzy, a rage, on both sides probably. But one more aspect of nihilism is that it is originally translated as cultural exhaust. Cultural exhaust. And so my antidote to nihilism is art. That's my antidote to nihilism, is art. Lean into your creativity and do not succumb to exhaust. Don't succumb to exhaust. Perseverance, y'all. Number 9 personality type, perseverance. All right. Free-floating anxiety. Free-floating anxiety. This is a wild weave, and I've been at it for a minute already. So I'm going to give a quick tour on the way I have the new dry erase board arranged. Whereas before I had the first layer of presentational immediacy over on the left-hand side, and I had the prime Enneagram on the right-hand side, and I was going back and forth between the two. I've made some executive decisions to fuse the two systems into one. And so the outer layer of my Enneagram now is the 1 through 9 with the cards as their numbers attribute them. As card number 10 is in the one spot, I put the Magi in the first break between the doing and the feeling. The Magi is holding the horn of Gabriel, you could say. The Magi is the dividing line. This is the river Styx. And over here is card number 2, the High Priestess, in the position of the giver with the shadow of pride. Card number 3, very simply, in the Achiever with the shadow of deceit. Card number 4, down here in the 4th spot, the individual. There is no number 5 because I had to reuse the Hierophant card, but the Hierophant is here with the Observer. Lover's card in number 6 spot because it's card number 6. 7 cards, Chariot. 8, or between the 7 and the 8, I've put the Justice card, or the Adjustment card, as the Sword of Michael, the Sword of Discernment, as we're moving from the thinking into the acting group. And then up in the 8 spot, I guess I should kind of have, it really should be the Lust card, as 8 is a controller with the Shadow of Lust. And then in the 9 spot is the Hermit. That's the outer layer, is just the numbers, essentially, 1 through 10, you could say. The interior layer is the prime stations of the Enneagram. And it is in the prime arrangement that I have gained the most feedback from our culture. And that is to say that essentially when I put the cards in the personality stations of their prime representation, which you might hear me call it the second layer of presentational immediacy. The prime station of these cards on the personality types jumped out at me and revealed the entire Scooby Gang. The entire Scooby Gang is right here in the prime station Enneagram arrangements. Scooby Dum is in the number 8 spot. The color of his entire iconography is right here in the number 8. Scooby-Doo is the Hierophant card because 23 is the 9th prime. 23 reduces to a 5, so I put the Hierophant in the 9 spot, and there's Scooby-Doo. And remember, this is Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do. Do, Scooby-Doo, right here. And it's brown. What people think about when they think about dogs. Scrappy-Doo is in the Aeon position, and this is fascinating because he has the collar. They're always holding him back by the collar. This card has the chains of the lunar standstills. Scrappy-Doo is wrathful. It's his personality type, is wrathful. He's always being held back, much like the Aeon card is practicing reticence with the finger to the lips. Number 3 is, it's the Hangman card, which there's a good amount of Shaggy in this. However, the real Shaggy that I found the most correspondent was card number 21. So this is card 1-2. This is card 2-1. And I see Shaggy and Scooby, when they get scared, they have a ritual where they hug each other and they shake exceedingly. And this is just really fascinating to me, as the shape of their ritual is in the shape of this card in a major way. It's really fascinating. And this card does correspond to Carl Jung's Agatho-Daemon Ring in the most profound way. This is the Hydrus constellation, way down in the extreme south. It's so fascinating what I've learned, the deeper meaning to the cartoons through their tarot correspondences. So in my arrangement of the prime stations for the Scooby Gang, I'll actually bring this card up into the number 3 spot. Is that right? No, the number 2 spot, because 3 is the second prime number. It's very labyrinthian. It is extremely labyrinthian. Down in the number 3 spot is card number 5, which is the 14 is the art card. This is the mystery machine. The mystery machine is in the phenomenological position of the Dionysian Neptunian vibration illusion of the shimmer of the glimmer of the shine. It's literally the Scooby Gang's vehicle. Fred is the chariot card, as he drives the mystery machine all the time. But his colors of his ascot and his clothes, his blue jeans and his yellow hair, is very correspondent to this chariot card. Velma is this lust card. It is card number 11, and 11 is the 5th prime. So I put her down here in the tragedian Melpomene observer with a shadow of avarice or greed. And think about Velma. She's always thinking more than she's saying. She's constantly thinking more than she's saying. And you always get the impression by the end of every episode that Velma's got this all figured out. We're just waiting for her to tell us. That is her aspect of greed. She keeps it to herself until it's time for the unmasking. And then the death card is number 13. 13 is the 6th prime number. Death card is totally whatever bad guy they're chasing every episode is in this death card. And then we have Daphne. She's totally rocking the star card. And she is an enthusiast. She is an enthusiast as she draws in the spirits. Now, I have to say something. Daphne is articulating the vice of the number 2 personality type. And Shaggy is actually expressing the vice of the 7 personality type. Shaggy suffers from gluttony. Daphne has too much pride. She's too much of a giver. So in the strangest way, the Shaggy and the Daphne card are inversions of the vices of their stations. So this is a number 2, because number 3 is the second. Number 3 is the 2nd prime, and she's number 7 because 17 is the 7th prime. But Shaggy has her vice, and she has Shaggy's vice. I find that fascinating that Shaggy actually articulates gluttony, and she articulates the giving. The prideful one. So with this little nudge that I'm onto something with this analysis, I moved into the characters of the Flintstones. And sure enough, Fred Flintstone is generally in this number 5. He's wearing these colors, but every once in a while he gets in his Flintstones family vehicle and he starts driving the chariot, and he becomes this card here. And one thing that's really fascinating about this card, I'll bring a graphic, but there are distinctly little bare feet at the bottom. Just like Fred Flintstone's little feet popping out of the bottom of that vehicle. There are bare feet in this card, this tarot card. So, same thing happens when I take the tarot cards onto the Flintstones. I got Fred Flintstone. It's totally a combination between the lust and the chariot card, and his buddy Barney fulfills the Hierophant card. Barney's wife is very much, I think of her as the Empress card, and Fred's wife, Velma? No. Was her name Velma? That was Fred's wife's name. Uh-oh, I forget. She's correspondent to the star card in a major way. So then I take the whole system and I run it through the Avatar, the Last Airbender. And I shared this on my most recent live with PK, but all the characters of the Avatar are tarot cards. It's almost a complete system. And it would take me a great amount of time and effort to convey all of the significance of it, but just a couple really fascinating psychological truths. come to light through that project for me. One is that Aang is the Aeon card. And I see some, we'll just call it, we'll call it trademark grafting. It's a sigil grafting, really. But Kenneth Anger has grafted his own magical system onto this deck, obviously. But then this deck was picked up by the artists who gave us the Avatar series. And what is fascinating is that Aang at large is the main character of the entire series. He's the main protagonist. And he's subtly being hijacked. I don't know what to call this. It's a siphoning. He's being siphoned. All of the admiration of the art of the Avatar series that is Aang has a undisclosed siphoning, a tithing that is channeled to Kenneth Anger. Pretty fucking nefarious. But I also want to mention how Aang is an air element character. He's flying around on his little kite. And if anybody wants to research, there has been an agenda for many decades to instill free-floating anxiety. Free-floating anxiety has totally been the modus operandi over the past at least 10 years. And it is through free-floating anxiety that keeps us indecisive in a perpetual state of doubt, all this politicized science coming at us. And as long as we're in free-floating anxiety, we are quick to respond to the probes and the carrots and the stick of the Dow Jones. So I'll bring maybe a few more graphics, but yeah, the star card is totally Appa. The moon card is totally Momo. And what really gets me is that the cabbage vendor is this adjustment card. And that is really fascinating because of natural disaster capitalism. The cabbage vendor is the adjustment card. A lot of people who are real nerds about the Avatar series, they believe that the cabbage vendor is a spy working for the Red Lotus clan. That's pretty fascinating. So the cabbage cart gets blown up pretty much every episode. It's kind of like Kenny from South Park. And he screams, "My cabbages!" That's really something amazing. As right now we are in Libra, we are in the dominion of the Sword of Michael, and sure enough, disaster capitalism has struck twice in a week. So the free-floating anxiety has been launched onto the masses yet again. It seems to be the spirit of the Aeon at large to keep us from any kind of stoic reticence, any decisiveness at large in our life, so that we remain responsive to the DOW, the Dogs of War, the Dow Jones. All right. I'm pretty sure that is everything I wanted to mention. The triggering of that negative green color from the night vision goggles, from the matrix, from the back side of your birth certification. The word birth is an anagram for tribe. It's really, really far out what consistency there is cross-culturally and even across different modalities of mythology. You know, we have never had moving pictures for this many generations. We have never had moving pictures that everybody infuses emotionally the life force, the I-core of these icons, and then hand them down to the next generation of kids to pick up and move forward. It's really amazing. You know, we think about how religion had everybody on lock with mind control with just a book. And we think that we're free of that because now we have moving pictures. I don't think it works that way. I think these moving pictures have more potency than any book ever had in the past. So, I just wanted to share all that. And then I want to also just mention how, and big love and respect to all of my wonderful friends and family out there. Somebody very, very, very special to me mentioned that stargazing is so correspondent to the word strategizing. And that just blew my mind. I love when things like that happen. And when those synaptic channels open up in ways you never saw before. Stargazing and strategizing. And so the word strategizing already had a very hyper mystical significance in my knowings, and that is that the Estregas of Minerva. Do not get this twisted. The Estregas of Minerva, Roman Etruscan. Do not get Minerva confused with Athena. If you do that, it is at your own cost, and it is a high cost. The Estregas of the Etruscans were worshiping Minerva, which is not the great horned owl of Athena. It was generations later, after the wisdom of the Greeks had gone through a terrible diminishing, that Minerva of the Estregas becomes this a re-glamorizing of the militant feminine. And I just find it quite next level to consider how the owl's head is said to be able to turn 360 degrees. That's a very strategic maneuver. The Estrega of Minerva can see in all 360 degrees. So when I hear that stargazing and strategy are correspondent, I realize those Etruscans are very strategic with their Estrega maneuvers. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of differentiate their great horned owl of Athena from the fallen wannabes who came after her. All right, y'all. Big love and respect. Happy frickin' Katyayani Day. And I just love having a firm understanding for the mechanics of the heavens as the snicker snack of the Jabberwocky is taking place as we speak. And I do have a sense that after this profound, dramatic next couple months, once they're over, the bright side is it only gets better from here. It only gets better from here. We can put all this drama behind us. We can shut down the theater, and we can all move into our individual pilgrimage and put these signs and symbols to work for our purpose. That is totally what I plan to do now that I have such a wonderful understanding of the eudaimonia that the Enneagram can provide. Not so much the pandemonium. All right. Love and respect, dissidents. Heads up, Cash App down below. I got my channel, my slickdissident.com is going to be linked down below. I've got tons of hoodies. I'm getting ready for the cold season. Got those onesies for the babies and the zippos to spark fires in the minds of men and the pants of all you lovely ladies. All right. Strength and wisdom. Respect.